Hello, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on air as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. We have been celebrating it since September 15th, and now we're pretty much officially out of it. But I say we celebrate all the way into November. But I'm here tonight, your guest host, Larry Rodarte, and I am happy to be with you here tonight. I hope that everyone is doing fine, and I hope that you come into the room. And if you've got a question or concern, please put it into the room so we can address it. We have Angel Gomez, who's going to be our guest today, and he is with the Latino Caucus. He's going to talk about this new endeavor that he and some friends have put together, and we're going to ask him questions because it's something relatively new in our community. So please take the time, listen up, and be informed here on Mi Gente on Air.
Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Good evening. Welcome to Mi Gente on Air. Thank you for being with me here tonight as we celebrate October. We're getting so close to Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, and it's just a great time of the year because the leaves have finally changed. They were late in coming. I'm like, where have you been? But we know we had a hot summer leading into the fall, and we're in October. I think this Tuesday is October the 21st, right? Or am I a little early? But anyways, when you hear this throughout the week, I hope that you will understand that we have the show that's going to be broadcasting on Saturdays and Sundays, but you can always listen to it here on social media platforms throughout the week. And we have it on my Facebook page as well as WSGW, Mi Gente Magazine. And I'm bringing up those because I think there's about 7 or 8 of them that you can actually listen to the program on. So welcome. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and today I have a guest. His name is Angel Gomez, and he is from the Chesaning area, and he's going to talk to us about the Latino Caucus that he started in the community at a time when political polarization is happening throughout the country. We know this. We know we just had a huge march that was affecting our community as well as throughout the nation. I think there were like 2,700 different marches throughout the country in protest to President Trump. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because it affects all of us and affects all our lives, whether you're pro-right, pro-left, what in between, what have you. But Angel's a great guest to talk about that because that's what his Latino Caucus is about. So please help me welcome to Mi Gente on Air, Angel Gomez.
Thank you, Larry, for having me here.
Well, thanks for being here. And Angel and I just recently met, maybe in the last month or so. And he is the grandson of Guadalupe Gomez, who was the first elected Hispanic to the Saginaw County in the Chesaning Board of Education about 25 years ago. And I knew Guadalupe Gomez. We called her Lupe. And Guadalupe Gomez was the daughter of Jesus Miramontes, who was one of the founders of La Unión Cívica Mexicana. So she roots run deep as far as with Angel Gomez here. And I'm so glad to have him on the show. So, Angel, tell us about you and your background a little bit.
Yeah, Larry, I graduated from SVSU with my master's in social work. I am also a clinical therapist now, and I feel like I needed to get more involved. I did not see a lot of Latino therapists in the area. And when I started looking for leaders, I found some leaders, but they were always a bit older than I am. So I thought it was important for myself to start stepping into some of those leadership roles and help unify our community.
What are you trying to say, young man? No, but yeah, you're right. You're right, and it's wonderful that you are. And there are a few young people that I see that are stepping up to the plate, and I think it's important because, as you know, we have a we're in a different time period. I mean, this is
Mhm.
really one of the toughest times I've seen in my lifetime. In 2025 with all that's happening, and so I think a lot of it, has to do with the polarization of our country, and especially for Latinos. It's been hard in 2025 with the immigration crackdown and all that's happening. Even though I am an American citizen, was born and raised here, whatever, I feel it too. I
Mhm.
feel it deeply when I see the raids that are happening in Chicago and in Los Angeles and in Portland. And it doesn't matter if we're documented or undocumented, we're going to feel it because it's our people, right?
Yes.
So, how do you feel about that?
So I have all kinds of feelings that come with this. With the Supreme Court allowing racial discrimination for the Latino people, ICE racial profiling us. You're speaking Spanish. You're in this part of town. You work in construction or landscaping. All that, and it's hard to be a standing by while you see our young kids that maybe they do have family that are immigrants and they're trying to be surviving here. Even as a DACA recipients that I know are being told to self-deport and they grew up here.
Yeah, yeah. Dolores Huerta, the great Dolores Huerta, she helped found the Farm Workers Union with Cesar Chavez way back in the 60s. I saw on a post today, and it was her, and she was speaking about the LA raids. And she said that of 92 people that were arrested there in Los Angeles, one was undocumented.
Mhm.
That's scary. That's scary for our people. And so, I want to bring this point up to you as you sit here before me and you're on my show. In 1945, when the Unión Cívica Mexicana was actually founded, in your great grandfather, it would be right,
Yes.
Jesus Miramontes. The name, to me evokes memories of those great giants that started this civic organization in our community. One of the reasons why they did, of course, was for civil rights, and they were fighting for the rights of the migrant workers that were across the state of Michigan. And it wasn't just here in Saginaw County, but the state of Michigan. And they fought because there was undue process and injustice to the farm worker, migrant workers at that time. And it's just ironic to me that here we are, 80 years this year since the organization was founded, and we're fighting that same fight.
Yeah, it seems like in our history, we're fighting this fight multiple times. And the people that get mixed up to that fight as well are the US citizens. In 1930, there was a large amount of US citizens that were deported.
Yeah, repatriation, and it was terrible in Detroit. And it also happened here in Saginaw at the
Mhm.
Gray Iron Foundry, believe it or not. A lot of people don't know that. And some of the workers, they went to work that day and never came home. They were shipped on buses back to Mexico, or in some cases, never having been in Mexico, in their lifetime, and they were U.S. citizens. But it just it's happening now, and you're right to evoke what the Supreme Court has done this month, well, in the last month, 30 days, where it's racial profiling now for our people. So is all of this part of the reason why you formed the Latino caucus? And tell me a little bit about how that actually happened.
Yeah, so I started to get involved in the local Democratic Party, and I met Chair Brandell Adams. And him and I sat down and we had coffee, and we were talking about how I could get more involved, how I could become a leader in our community. And he explained to me that we don't have a Latino caucus. So I was kind of given this gift to start this Latino caucus. And I went to some of the older leaders that I know and I started talking to them about it. And they encouraged me to do it. And so then I started meeting people and I started getting people involved. The whole purpose of this was to give us a voice to hold not only Republicans, but also Democrats that are elected to represent us accountable for their
Accountable.
votes.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And so when did this actually take place? Like when was the evolution of the Latino caucus in our community?
So in November will be our fourth meeting. Before that, I started planting the seeds with some of our community leaders at about March time. And it really started taking off this summer.
Mhm.
And I have been able to, our numbers are growing. Our first meeting, we had 30 people. Our second meeting, we had 35. And then, some people have dropped off. But we have a meeting in November, and it's the first Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Democratic headquarters in Saginaw. And I'm hoping to have a lot more.
And the Democratic caucus, they're the ones on, are they on Hamilton Street?
Hamilton and Adams.
Yeah, yeah. So when you've met there, that's where you started the actual Latino caucus, which means basically a group of people politically, whether you're Republican or Democrat, can join. Correct. I want to make sure you get this clear. So tell us, like, if somebody's interested in being involved, what can they expect?
So we are working on our bylaws to be able to hold our chairman accountable, as well as what are our leadership roles going to look like. Uh, I would say that you are more than welcome. Republicans, Democrats, Independents are more than welcome to come in, and we are talking about potentially making it that you are in good standing with the Saginaw Democratic Party to be a voting member. Other than that, you can come in, you can voice your opinion. I am a firm believer that we need to hold both parties accountable, especially during this time.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can really learn, if from our counterparts in terms of, um, you know, we're not that large in this community, but if we're only listening to the Democratic side, then we're not truly listening to our counterparts, the Republicans. And I'm saying that because I am a Democrat, and I think that it's important that we listen to those voices at times, and, like you say, unite in a way for the betterment of our community.
Yes.
So, what has been the response so far, since you've had your meetings? You said 30 to 35, and some have dropped off.
Yes.
And what is your vision, say, for the next 6 months?
So my vision is to be able to build our voice so that way we have the a lot of the big offices coming up for reelection here in Michigan, up for election in Michigan. And I'm hoping to be able to start bringing people in and having those town halls and answer those questions how they're going to support us. We've had some Democrats that have voted against Latinos,
Hmm.
and when we confront them, we're told like this is not a big issue for us. We don't hear these issues being big in our community. And granted, we are only 6% here in Saginaw, but we have brothers of all shades and brothers and sisters of all shades.
Hmm. And if we don't unite, then they're never going to hear that voice,
Mhm.
or hold them accountable. And so it's important that we come together, and I think it's really it really behooves our community of Latinos in Saginaw County, as well as those in the surrounding area, I think, to be able to have that voice so that we are at the table, so that they are listening to us, and maybe they won't look at it where it's not that important to us.
Right.
So that's really important. So tell me about your the legacy of your grandmother being the first Hispanic to elected office, and has that motivated you to start the Latino caucus or be involved in politics?
So yes, her and my grandfather Victor Gomez were very involved in our community while I was growing up, and I was their little tag along. So I've been in politics my whole life, and I do enjoy it. Um, you can ask them when I was young. I was getting up to watch the 10 o'clock news, and then I'd go right back to bed. And her being involved in the community as far as being such a huge advocate, activist, public servant in Chesaning, in our community, that drove me to. That has given me the heart to want to help others in our community.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as I had mentioned earlier in the program, it's a hard time for Latinos
Mhm.
across the board, and I see a lot of division. And it's tough when we look at what is happening because of the immigration issue, but within our own lives, that those of us that may not be directly involved with the immigrant issue, we're fighting that battle on a daily basis, from our computers, from going up against friends, family that may
Mhm.
be, saying the narrative that is very much to us a propaganda narrative of the Republican Party. And it's difficult. It's really difficult. I see posts where, they're saying it's a heavy time, heavy hearts for Latinos. And, you know, I haven't witnessed this in my lifetime really, where racial profiling is okay,
Mhm.
and it just never has been, never was. I don't think it should be happening, but it is. It's the reality of our world today in 2025. And so I hope my listeners out there are listening, because I think in the heart of hearts of everybody, they know it's wrong.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about it all?
So I was hoping that I would never see that day where racial profiling had came back so strong and so fast. I would say it's going to affect us whether we are on that immigration topic or not.
Mhm.
We are seeing that as long as you're brown, that they're going to pull you over. There have been Trump supporters that have been detained and they have been deported. There is people that have been in communities where they felt comfortable, and now their community is shunning them and they want to move. And these are stories that I'm hearing all around the United States.
Yeah, yeah. Even in Detroit, there was a vendor that is um, going through the process. I think she's a hot dog stand vendor that um, she's going to be deported probably, and that just happened in the last week or so. And so it's difficult to see. And the argument, they say, well, just come legally, do it legally, and there are many that have been there who have tried the legal process,
Hmm.
and they may be in the process of, being documented, and they finding themselves where in the bigger cities there, there's ICE. They're around. I know in Pontiac they've been there. I heard last week they were in Old Town Saginaw.
Wow.
And sometimes it's not true. When people are saying that as a scare tactic.
Mhm.
I remember when President Trump took office in January, there was posts going around that they were going to be targeting the different Mexican restaurants, not only Mexican, but also Chinese restaurants and all. And they even mentioned the Union Civica, and it wasn't even true. They weren't even around. And so, there are those that, may want to, for whatever reason, target the Latinos and scare them with a scare tactic like that, or they may want to just see others suffer. And I think that's part of the whole problem with our country, is that now people are okay with seeing others suffer, and it's really a bad time. And you're from a younger generation that, if I haven't seen it, then I know you haven't, and so it's a difficult time. What are your friends and family saying with your involvement and all?
So they definitely tell me to be cautious of how I'm speaking, as well as who I have around me, just a protection for myself. But I would also say that a lot of my friends and family, when they hear me speak, they are very like, yep, this is that time. It's that time to someone younger to start speaking up. When people come and say, come here legally, we did. During
Mhm.
World War II, there were Latinos that came over here to work, and they were inspected like they were cattle. And we come over here and we were working. And then the visas would expire, or they would start having family here and they wouldn't want to leave.
Yeah, yeah. And during World War II, because so many of the Americans were sent to war,
Mhm.
the U.S. government commissioned for the Bracero program to
Yes.
happen in the United States, where they were looking for Mexican national men to come and work the fields.
Mhm.
And it was an important time. They They were the backbone of our country, and I think that a lot of times they're not given the credit, not just the braceros that some stayed or worked at the time, but also many of the migrant workers that worked in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Hmm.
They truly were the backbone of our country. And so, now they have demonized migrants and immigrants in this country, and it's just that's what makes it really tough because I don't care whether you're on the right or you're on the left, we all have come from immigrant grandparents, great
Hmm.
grandparents, and it just seems ridiculous to me. And I'll say it that you could forget about your roots and your history of your family,
Hmm.
and vote for somebody like President Trump. And that's just been an issue. I've said it on my program a few times, but we all know that we are a nation of immigrants, not just with the Latinos. Um, and I think it's really important that we exercise our constitutional rights. And that's what we did this weekend. I know you
Yes.
were out there. I was out there protesting on the No Kings March on October what day was that? The 19th, 18th,
Yep.
October 18th. It was huge.
It was.
7 million people, Americans, came out and protested because they don't want no kings. And that's just kind of a saying that we're saying, whereas you notice some on the right are saying now, don't you know the reason why you have the right in order to march is because we have no kings. It's propaganda. I mean, they know really why we're marching, and yet they're going to come up with something like that where I've seen it and on post, and they're running with it, but it's just ridiculous. But um, we're going to go into commercial, and we're going to talk more with Angel Gomez about his participation with the Latino caucus, as well as the protests this last weekend that happened around the country, 2,700 cities, huge marches in some of the huge cities of our country that really were, it was amazing to see, and to see that, our freedom of speech was in practice, and that we here in America were practicing that. So don't go anywhere. Don't go nowhere, anybody. No te vayas. Stay with us as we talk more on Mi Gente on Air. So come on into the room. I see there are listeners out here. Lupe Ramos Montigne from Grand Rapids is watching. She's a great friend of mine. Bobby De Leon says, great job, gentlemen. Frankie Salazar says, thank you so much. Thank you, Frankie, for always supporting Mi Gente on Air. Maria Sanchez has, who uh, her grandfather was also very much involved with the Union Civica Mexicana, says, hi, Larry, I'm just joining. Who are these young man's grandparents again? His grandparents were Lupe Gomez and Victor Gomez. Guadalupe Gomez was on the Board of Education for Chesney High School, Chesney Board of Education. And her father was very much involved. I mean, her husband was very much involved with the UAW.
Yes.
And their son Miguel Gomez is the undersheriff for Saginaw County. So he's got a lot of important people in his life. And Maria Sanchez Haas is in Texas. She's in the Houston area. So we got some people watching on here. So everybody, if you want to continue to ask questions or put comments in the room, please do so, because that's what Mi Gente on Air is about. It's important that we have the show, and we're actually going on 5 years that we've been doing this. November 15th is the 5th-year anniversary, and it has gone by so fast. But I'm finding that more than ever, I thought that things would kind of ease off. We were coming out of COVID, and I wouldn't have to, necessarily have a show. But I find that now it's more than ever, it's important to have that voice. So we're here. And like I said, I want to invite you all to come on into the room and watch this show. Watch this show during the week. Spread it. Pass it on to your family and friends. We have new leadership in the community with Angel Gomez here being involved. And, it's really refreshing to see that. And I would really like to mention to everybody also that the Union Civica, we're celebrating 80 years. And so in November, we're going to have a big celebration November 29th at the Union Civica, because it's important that we celebrate that milestone of 80 years of having this organization in our community, founded, like I said, by Angel's great grandfather, my grandfather. We have a lot of history here. It's crazy that we still have that, because in most of the communities, like in Pontiac, Lansing, Flint, they don't have that history that we have here in Saginaw. I think the only other or city that has the civic organization like that is Detroit, and
Mhm.
we're behind. We're a couple years behind them, but so that's really something. So it's nice to see that the legacy of Jesus Miramontes is living on, with you, Angel. So everybody, thank you for being with us here tonight. We're going to go back into the show. I forgot that we weren't even in the show, but we're going to go back to the show and continue talking with Angel Gomez.
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Mi Gente on Air. Thank you for being with me here tonight. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and my guest tonight is Angel Gomez. He is a Chesney native who is a young man who started the Latino caucus here in Saginaw County. And I want my listeners, again, to understand what exactly that is and why you started it again. I need you to repeat that so that they understand it clearly.
Yeah, I started it to help give us a voice in politics. There's 6% of Latinos in Saginaw, and we live in the United States where 1 in 5 people recognize themselves as Latino. So we need to be able to give ourselves a voice politically and being able to lead in the community.
Okay, okay. So, like, I remember historically, probably 25 to 30 years ago, when we had very few representation in politics. We didn't have like Vanessa Guerra around yet; she was way too young. But I remember the time when Minnie Rosales from was on the Saginaw Board of Education, was elected the same night as Daniel Sosa to the city council. That was a big day for us in Saginaw County, and I know Sir Gilbert Guevara was on the city council. He was appointed. And I know that way back in, I want to say the 50s, Charlie Tafoya was elected in Saginaw County as well. Monica Reyes came on to the Carlton Board of Education, Lupe Gomez, the Chesney Board of Education. And it seems like that generation was much more involved. But I would be remiss, if I didn't mention Priscilla Garcia, of course, Michael Flores, who were both on city council, Priscilla pro mayor, um, and Vanessa Guerra and all that she did with the state in regards to being a state representative and now the county clerk. Um, and so there's a lot that we have done in our community. And I think it's really important that young people step up, such as yourself, Angel. And it's important that we have that voice, as we said. And part of that voice is when we speak out when we see injustices happening. And we do see that. I was at the march this Saturday, which was the No Kings March. I had a banner of Our Lady of Guadalupe
Mhm.
that was a Union Cívicas from back in the 40s, believe it or not,
Wow.
because I know that Our Lady of Guadalupe has been at every major protest from Benito Juarez, uh, Father Hidalgo.
Mhm.
They've always had her there, and I wanted to make sure people knew that I was there representing the immigrants and migrants of our country. Unfortunately, when I did get to Lansing, downpour came and the protest ended at 5 o'clock. It was supposed to go till 7. Tell me about your involvement this weekend, because you spoke in Chesney at the rally in the march there.
Yeah, I was one of the speakers that were there in Chesney, and I actually gave a speech of like what we can do to help support the undocumented workers here, the immigrants here, the Latino community. I was able to, I got a really good feedback when I told them how they could help us.
Yeah. And you mentioned another. Did you go to the one in Shields, or did you just you were so you went to Shields protests as well as Chesney?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And what was the atmosphere there for you?
So there was a lot of people in Shields, and it felt awesome to see them chant and see them with their signs, and we got a little bit of feedback from the opposition, but it was all in good fun. It was so peaceful. There was a lot of people in animal costumes, which is now becoming this like signature mark for the Democrats that are doing their marches and their protests.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mocking type. Yeah, because I didn't understand that at first, but now I kind of get it. But overall, wasn't the enthusiasm? It was hopeful.
Yes,
It
it was
gave
very
us
hopeful.
hope. That people are not going to stand for it, and to have 7 million Americans out there this weekend, um, and this was the second time this year.
Yes,
The first march I think was in June, and
I believe so.
or was it March? I'm not sure, but it's really a beautiful thing to see people, actually exercising their rights, the constitutional right to be able to have your voice is heard, to speak, that freedom of speech. And I'm really worried as a journalist myself.
Mhm.
Um, to see that journalism is under attack in a big way in our
Yes.
country. I mean, never thought I would see this. I've been a journalist for close to 40 years. Never have seen this, what I've seen and what happened with the Pentagon press corps just last week. And for the president to be at the helm of that. And, where is he going? Where is he going? That's one of the things that an autocratic government does, is they try to silence the press.
Mhm.
And so, it's difficult for any individual. I think journalists per se have to make that choice. Do I stand out? Do I make waves? Do I tell the truth? Or do I just back away? But silence is complicity. And
It is.
so it's very important that we do, speak out, especially at this time. So, how do you think it's going to go in the midterms next year in November? Because
S-
that's what you're building this all up for, right?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us about that.
So I think that the midterms, and my hopes is that we get elected officials who are not afraid to stand up to this administration, whether they're Republican or Democrat. I want them to be able to stand up, because we saw people stand up against President Trump in 2024. And the same people that said that they were never Trump people are now supporting him. So that's one of the things that is scary to me, is because you had the opposition that would tell them that was wrong, but are now, yep, that's 100%. Let me follow you.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of all of this, what's happening in the immigration issue, with the raids in Los Angeles, Chicago, Portland, we have the announcement that Bad Bunny is going to be at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it just adds that fuel to the fire. And I see that there's, you know, signatures being signed to have George Strait replace Bad Bunny. As a young individual, a young Latino, young American, how do you feel about that?
So it's always great to see another Latino hitting the world's biggest stage, and knowing that he is hitting the top marks in the billboards. And for them to say we want George Strait or an American, they forget that Puerto Rico is part of America. It is
Yeah,
part of the United States. And so we deserve every right to be here and be represented just like everybody else.
yeah. And it's crazy to me because like George Strait has a connection to the Latino community.
Mm-hmm.
Does he really want to be at the center of this controversy? Have they even asked him? You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean,
Yep.
that's got to be really difficult. And it's crazy that at a time when we're so polarized as a country, that the NFL makes this decision, which is their decision to make, and
Mhm.
they have had plenty uh, of artists in the past that may not have been Americans,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, and they have people who are saying, "Well, wait a minute, if you're going to have somebody who's going to speak Spanish or sing Spanish on there, that we want somebody different.
Mm-hmm.
We want Kid Rock. We want Ted Nugent." I mean, it's just crazy because Bad Bunny, as an artist on himself, stands alone as the top selling streaming artist in the world.
Mm-hmm.
78 million streams. And when you look at the who they have on the roster for the show, um, to counter that, all those 5 artists that they have picked, their streams don't even add up to Bad Bunny's one single artist, you know? So I mean, it's really a crazy time, and it just makes me angry. And so I have to watch what I say. But I do know Bad Bunny. I've listened to his music. They say he has come out and said that he's not going to perform in the United States because of the immigration issue, and he doesn't want any of his fans or what have you to be arrested if they target him. And now they're saying they're going to target the Super Bowl because he's going to be there. ICE, which many of the immigrants and migrants are not going to be buying those tickets for
Right.
the Super Bowl, so it's a waste of time. But Bad Bunny, uh, he is a reggaeton artist
Mm-hmm.
from Puerto Rico, American territory. We here in Saginaw pretty much are Tejano listeners. About 3 years ago, one of the Tejano bands, uh, Frontera, had as a guest artist on one of their songs Bad Bunny. It went huge. It
Mm-hmm.
became like the biggest selling song at that time. And if you go to any of our dances here in the Saginaw area, pretty much every band that comes and plays, they're playing that song.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the influence of an artist like Bad Bunny, who's not Mexicano, but he made something really happen within the Tejano genre
Yep.
because of his popularity, just because he showed up and sang on that song. And so he is an artist of influence, and he does deservedly belong at the Super Bowl.
Mm.
And that's what they're trying to do, is to expand the audience of the Super Bowl. And so, I mean, we could do a whole show just on this. But anyways, what else would you say in regards to that? Because you're my guest and you're the one who has to have the opinion on that.
So I think that it's a marketing standpoint. You have the top seller, the top streamer, and you want to get the world to start looking at the NFL. So how do you do that? You put the influence in there. You put the top streamer on the show.
Yeah.
That it's all marketing, and for the Republicans who want a different halftime show, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. You can turn it off. You have that freedom to turn off the show. I think that this is marketing and it's being useful.
I remember the backlash when Jennifer Lopez and Shakira were also on there. It wasn't so much that they were Latinas. It was more so the flashiness of them performing and um, the not being fully clothed. And it's so crazy to me how fast we are moving in terms of how vastly different the time period is now compared to what that was less than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that's how difficult this all living in the United States has become. And I don't care if you're on the right or the left, it's difficult for all of us,
Mhm.
whether you're under a Trump administration or a Biden administration. It has been difficult because of the polarization of our community. We are not the America that we were. And man, I long for that America of the 80s,
Mhm.
that no longer exists. The 80s, the 90s, times were simpler. But here we are. And so I know in 2050, they said that Latinos would be the largest ethnic group in the country. I think we already are.
Mhm.
Um, but I know you mentioned 1 in 5 Latinos or person Americans would be of Latino descent. I think that number by 2050 is really going to grow. And so, how do we get through this time period that is so offensive to Latinos? And that's what it is. And so, to my listeners out there, everybody, whether you're Hispanic, non-Hispanic, or for President Trump or against President Trump, look at it logically of where we are, because I remember they used to talk about the sleeping giant and waking that up. That's been woken up for years, and now we are at a point where we're protesting, we're complaining about our survival in this country.
Mhm.
And I never thought we would be at the point where we are. And it just keeps, like, every day there's something. Today it was the East Wing being demolished because President Trump is building a ballroom.
Right.
So how do you see yourself attracting other Latinos to the Latino caucus?
So it's the feeling of wanting to help accomplish something that is coming out. I'm hearing a lot of people that come and get involved of like, I want to raise my voice. I want to be able to do something. We wrote letters to their senators, Senator Peters and Senator Slotkin. And I've heard from other people like that isn't enough. I'm like, but that's the starting point.
Mhm.
We have to be able to have a starting point. We want to get immigrant rights activists commission up here to do a training on how we can protect our rights, because the more we know, the more education we have, the better. So knowing our rights, recording, if we ever see ICE detaining somebody and it seems like they are breaking somebody's rights, start recording. If we can get you to make noise when you see ICE, inform our elected officials. I've talked to a lot of elected officials that say, let us know when they're active. We don't have a problem coming out and supporting you guys, but we have to know that they're active.
Yeah, yeah. So in the upcoming months, November, December, what are we looking at in terms of political guests that may be coming to our area?
So I'm hoping to have a town hall with McDonald Rivet, so that way she can show her support to the Latino community, as well as having Abdul El Say, who is running for U.S. Senate in Michigan, to come talk. And I do plan on having more. I have Sheriff Swanson's phone number that we're going to call and hopefully get something organized here soon.
Awesome. He's a great guy. I had him on my show a couple weeks ago. Abdul, he's a friend of mine as well, and he ran for governor in, what was that, 2020?
Yep.
Was it 2020 or 2022?
Yep, 2022.
Yeah. And Rivet, Christian Rivet, McDonald Rivet.
Yep, McDonald Rivet.
Yeah. Now, it's been a contentious relationship that she has had with the Latino community.
Mhm.
And there's a number of different issues that have come since she's been in office and all. But we can't shut her out. We have to talk with her. We
Yep.
have to, see where she stands on issues. And I
Mhm.
think that it's a great idea to have a town hall or what have you, where she can answer questions.
Mhm.
So I know that Angel and I have talked about in the future having the Unión Cívica Mexicana as part of these town halls. Why did you come to me with that? Tell me about that.
So the Unión Cívica, by my understanding and what I was taught growing up, was to give Latinos a voice in our community.
Mhm.
And so as we bring these elected officials, potential candidates to us to come talk to us and share what their opinion is and where they stand on issues, I felt it best for them to come to our home turf and come to the Civica. I know Bobby from the Mexican American Council, and he's been very supportive of the Latino caucus.
John Ayala.
Al Tenyuki, lead, has been very supportive of the Latino caucus. And we don't have the space that would be able to have 100, 200, 300 people there. So my thought was the Civica. The Civica was meant to be that voice. The Civica is our home turf. Let's bring them to the Civica.
Yeah, and that's really why I make that connection, with you in terms of your grandfather Jesus Miramontes being a founder of the Civica, because in my eyes, you're a child of the Civica.
Mhm.
That's what I always say about those who, whether it's your aunt Kat, Catalina Fulgencio, or your other cousins that may be of descendants of Jesus Miramontes. There's a number of us out there still in the Saginaw community, and so you're right. La Civica is our home base, and so celebrating 80 years this year, and why not? Why not have that? And we have had them through the years. I remember your Aunt Maria and your grandmother Lupe at the Civica at the meetings.
Mhm.
They would be at the meetings, and I've seen them at their best in terms of arguments,
Yep.
and getting things, protesting what was going on at that time. And this is probably the 90s. And I think it's very funny that your Aunt Maria, she goes by Maria Sanchez.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, whenever I invite her to the events at the Civica, on the envelope, I would always put Maria Miramontes. And she got a kick out of it because I haven't heard that name in years. But so, I think that's wonderful. I think that we can do a lot as a community, because Saginaw is truly, they have their roots. When you look at us and what we're doing compared to some of the other cities, we have third, fourth generation here.
Mhm.
And I know that we're different from, say, a community like Pontiac, where there's a lot of immigrants there. And I go to Pontiac quite a bit. I have relatives there as well. And it's a tough time. It's a
Mhm.
tough time to be in that community in the high schools. ICE is targeting
Mhm.
the high schools. And I have a friend that works there as well. And they let me know. And, it's even tough for the food trucks that are there. And they have some really good ones there. But people are scared,
Mhm.
So with the Latino Caucus, I think we can help in those endeavors and, be that voice. So thank you, Angel, for being with us on this program. I'm so glad that you took the time today, because we are living in tough times.
Yes.
And thank you to everybody who has made comments in the room. We've got quite a few comments. And I just want to mention that, like I said, the Union Civica will be celebrating 80 years with dinner and dance on November the 29th at the Union Civica Mexicana. I was there for the 50th, and that was a huge event. Both your grandma and your aunts were there, and I'm going to be, orchestrating the 80th. So everybody, if you could get behind us and support us, we really appreciate it. So thank you, everybody, for being with me here tonight on Mi Gente on Air. We thank our guest, Angel Gomez, and we hope that everybody will come behind him and support him in this endeavor as a young Latino in our community. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air. So there you have it, another show, Mi Gente on Air, and I want to thank Angel Gomez again, and just read some of these comments here. Ricardo Medina says, "Nice to see Angel Gomez advocating." Um, what's he say here? My computer went blank. Advocating and spreading the word for Latino Caucus of Saginaw County Democratic Party. So that's from Ricardo Medina, the former supervisor of Bridgeport High School. Superintendent, not supervisor. Lupe Ramos Montigna says a debate with U.S. Senate candidates would be very interesting. Holding everyone accountable is key. And she's also a big advocate and supporter of Abdul, who ran for governor in 2018. Wow, really? It doesn't seem that long.
It doesn't.
Wow, we were both wrong on that. I thought it was 2020 before, but then I guess it was before COVID. So Lupe is a former state of Michigan Board of Education elected official. So thank you for being with us, Lupe. Any last words, Angel, to the community?
Yeah, I would love to see you guys turn out to show our numbers, and I really appreciate you offering the Civica to us to be able to host these elected officials and candidates. I was talking to my grandfather a couple of days ago, and he was telling me how there's a photo in the archives of the Civica with Jesus Miramontes and John F. Kennedy.
Really?
Yeah. He said, and we've had Cesar Chavez there too.
Yes.
We
yes.
used, and we're the spot. We're the spot. They look to Saginaw to see how we're going to vote in our elections
Mhm.
and how that's going to impact the bigger stages.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dolores Huerta.
Yep.
I'd like to see that photo. I haven't seen that, but I know that President, there's a lot of pictures with President Carter when he came to the
Mhm.
Civica. So the historic importance is there. But it's really important that we get behind you at this time to unify as a community, to bring about a voice for anybody who may be the lone wolf out there.
Yep.
So that they're not alone, and because that's that's what it, just like the march this last weekend, I was really impressed at the enthusiasm, and like I said, how it gave us hope.
Yes.
So I think that when you have people in numbers in a group like the Latino Caucus, that more people will be willing to speak out.
Yes.
So congratulations on all that and what you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
And we'll work together more in the upcoming months, especially in 2026 for the midterms.
Thank you.
All right.
I
We'll see
appreciate
you
it.
all. Thank you all for being with us again.